Hey, John.
Hey, Eric.
How is it going tonight?
Oh, the dog has decided that as soon as I hit record, it is time to bark. That kind of shows what is going on. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. It has been one of those days for me today, too. Like, long, and I lose track of time. I'm like, oh, crud. Now I gotta do that? Oh, okay.
Okay, then.
All right. Let's do it. All right.
Well, I will start with, since my dog is barking, that she is in the doghouse with me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Figuratively, I take it.
Yeah, seeing as she's outside barking at coyotes right now. I had a tow truck come today
Oh,
to tow
okay.
away our truck.
Like the F-250 or the
Yes, no, it's a 350, but
350?
yeah,
Sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
350.
Don't. It's my
Don't
wife's
short you a
truck.
one. Yeah, don't.
It's right, right. It's
Okay.
50% more than two. No, the dogs, and by dogs I mean her, have ripped apart the wiring harness and the
What?
fuel
What?
line. They clearly treed a squirrel in there. I should have known better than to leave it parked. It was hooked up to a
Oh
trailer in
no.
our parking lot, and I was going to use the trailer again, which is why I didn't unhook it and go park it somewhere where there weren't more squirrels. And
Okay.
I can't entirely blame her because we know about this. We know that this happens,
Mm.
but I do not yet know how much this is going to cost me,
Ugh.
but it is going to be not cheap.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm sorry.
I'm just hoping there are 5 digits in the number. So yeah.
Uh,
Anyway, so that's how tonight is going, or today is going. I
okay.
was not super. I've not been super enthused since we tried to drive the
No.
truck on Monday, because the other big news is that I now have a goose. Or my wife has a goose. I
You,
refuse to have.
you have a goose. How did you acquire a goose? Did you go out and say, you know what? We're missing a goose.
It's a rescue goose, and his name is Stanley.
Rescue goose named Stan. So
I
there's like a
there is not enough time
farm of for
tonight.
lost geese that you
Well,
went and said, I want that
our
one.
neighbor, well, no, I basically went for a bit of a walk on Thursday,
Okay.
and uh, there was a goose, and I'm like, well, that's interesting. Why is there a goose there? Just ignored it because whatever, you know, geeses come, geeses go. I don't know. Um, so
Okay.
I actually, the next day, this was last Thursday. Then the next day, I forget what I did, but I think I walked out to the bees or something like that, and the goose honked and kind of startled me, and I was like, oh well, you're still around, and
Wait,
uh,
isn't
and
there
then
a
I
goose
figured, well,
game, like a popular video game a year or
yeah,
so ago
yeah,
about a goose? What
I
Panic,
forget
or
what that
the people that
was.
do Panic did it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the goose was like chasing the people around or something. But
Yeah.
uh, I never played that. But yes, I was aware of it. Anyway, I think it. Not I think. I went to the neighbor to the north and was but he wasn't there. They weren't there, and so I was like, well, whatever. And then this Sunday, I went out to the bees, and again honk. And I was like, whoa, you're still here.
You're
I don't
playing the
know.
live untitled goose game.
Yes, something like that. Exactly. And so I was like, well, whatever. So I spent an hour at the bees doing my thing. And meanwhile, the goose came over and just kind of, he was like 5 or 10 feet away, just on the other side of the fence, kind of observing me. And I was like, okay. So after that, I was like, well, you've been here for a number of days. I don't know where you're drinking or what you're eating. So I got some food and water and took it out there. Tried to lead him back. I mean, I wasn't about to like go like pick him up or anything like that. But he kind of followed me, but then wouldn't follow through like a narrow area, to the neighbors where I think he came from. Anyway, wound up going to the neighbor, found the neighbor.
Area.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Bad memories. Sure. So he's sort of the last surviving member of a flock of 2 geese, some ducks, and some chickens that the neighbor to the north who just moved in had put out in the middle of the field, kind of right in between 2 packs of coyotes that we know live in the
and answered questions answered.
Yes. So and all of his buddy and his buddy Goose and presumably and all the other young fowl are non-existent. Anyway, net. The neighbor came over. We caught the goose, and he's like, I'll take him back. I'll make sure that he's taken care of. And
define taken care of.
No, in a good way. Not in the I'm gonna take care of him. No, seemingly in a good way. But my wife was like had beforehand said, well, if he doesn't want to keep the goose, we could keep it, and it'll be a good flock protector for the chickens. And I'm like, okay. Whatever. So when he said that, I was like, well, we'll keep it because I mean he does no other fowl, no other birds. So anyway, so now I have a goose out there. So when I walk out my front door, he honks and is like, hey. So I will probably spend some time sitting out in the field because I'm pretty sure he'll come up and be like friendly.
Oh, what did the dogs think of the goose?
Oh, they haven't. I'm not sure who'd win. He seems like he's a pretty.
Well, I'm gonna guess that if this is the goose that survived from 2 packs of rival coyote gangs, I'm laying odds on the goose at this point.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think but he's in a dog safe, coyote safe pasture. I mean, maybe they could jump over the fence if they wanted to. It's a 5-foot fence, but he's not going anywhere. So anyway, there's the big news for the weekend.
All right.
My dog ate my truck.
Your dog ate your truck, and you're playing the real life version of the Untitled Goose Game.
Yeah, something like that. The problem, and just watch this space. Geese are social critters, so my money is on I have more than one goose in some amount of time.
And when I see a goose behind you while we're podcasting because they have now domesticated and are roaming the house, then I'll know I won't things have gone too far.
I'm even against indoor cats, so so I am very much against indoor geese.
But it's an indoor goose.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway,
people have indoor pigs.
No. That you're using the word people. I'm not sure. That's sorry.
No. A bridge too far for some.
That is,
apparently.
Or a sow too far. Yeah, very much.
All right.
Very much.
Well,
okay, so how about you? How was your weekend?
Speaking of pork, I made the best fall off the bone smoked spare ribs I have ever made. I went to Costco. I've never actually. I mean, I've made spare ribs occasionally, but they're like a lot of work in the oven. I gotta be. It's Memorial Day weekend, right? So I had Monday. I launched my fancy smoker with the real fire. Dressed some St. Louis ribs that I like a pack that I got from Costco. Only had half of it because we don't have that big a family. And smoked them for almost 6 hours. 3 hours, and then wrapped them in tinfoil another 3 hours. Then took them out and kind of basted them with barbecue sauce. A few with barbecue sauce. Anyways, they were so tasty.
Making my mouth water.
It was I had to pat myself on the back. They were that good.
This is 2 times. You were patting yourself
I
on the back for
know.
the steak the other day.
I
Now
know.
ribs.
It made
And
up for on Sunday we did more steaks and they weren't nearly as good as I will never have another steak that compares to
is
the
it
previous one.
the griller or the grilly, the steak?
Probably some amount of both. A little bit more on the steak side, I'm sure, though.
Yeah.
But I thought I did a good job, and it just didn't turn out as well. But it's all good. I mean, it was still tasty.
That's
So,
awesome.
anyways,
That's awesome.
that's what we did, and
I'm
then
jealous.
we also went to Harry Potter
Oh yeah. We did
8
too.
or 7, part 1.
Part one.
Part 1, which
Harry and the
you went the
Deathly
day
Hallows.
different than me. Yeah, you went on day 2
I went
or
on
Saturday. We went on Friday night, and they open up. She's like, y'all got to come back here next year because this movie is a downer.
Yes.
So make
Yes,
sure
it
you come
is.
back for the happy ending. And we ended up watching, enjoying the symphony, and then went home and watched part 2 because my wife's like, I can't end on that. I need to watch part 2. So Memorial Day in the evening, we watched the movie.
Okay. I was going to say
The next day, not the same
day,
night.
right? I was
Yeah, the
like,
next
that's
day.
a late night.
No.
That's a
We
late
went the
night.
next day. Yeah,
Yeah.
next day and watched part 2. So
Oh, that's good.
it was
That's
fun.
awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Well, we already have our tickets for part 2, so
I will have to tell my wife to go check those out
um,
because it's definitely on her list.
I'll be honest, we might have them because we have season tickets. I'm not sure they're entirely open for
Oh, not open yet?
non-season ticket holders. Maybe. I don't know. You got to check it out.
Probably.
Got to check it out.
Probably.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Good
All
stuff.
right. Sounds good. How about a topic tonight? What'd you bring?
So I think a while ago we talked about a library, the British Library.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah.
a ransomware attack. Apparently, there's been a lot of different kinds of DDoS and cyber attacks against libraries in general. This one was not against a physical building you walk into, but rather the Internet Archive, which one of yours and my favorite sites to go, hey, what was this website doing in 1998? Websites.
Absolutely.
And so, the collections, they say the collections are safe, but the DDoS attack, the denial of service attack, has kind of knocked them offline intermittently during the last 3 days. This was yesterday, so it was over the weekend for the most part that this happened. And Brewster Kale, the founder and digital librarian of the Internet Archive, said, with the support of others and the hard work of staff, we are hardening our defenses to provide more reliable access to our library. What is new is this attack has been sustained, impactful, targeted, adaptive, and importantly, mean.
Oh.
And, the article, it was from archive.org. They published this own article, and it mentions that cyber attacks are increasingly frequent against libraries and other knowledge institutions, such as the British Library, the Solano Public Library in California, the Berlin Natural History Museum, Ontario's London Public Library, recent victims. So the other thing in this, so that's just kind of the cyber attack that's going on. So kind of a bummer, but they're doing it, and you can always support the Internet Archive. I'm sure they'll take donations still if you want to try to help them out. But it also mentions that in addition to the cyber attacks, they're being sued by U.S. book publishing and U.S. recording industries, which are claiming copyright infringement and demanding combined damages of hundreds of millions of dollars and diminished service from all the libraries. So stuff that those places had put online publicly available, Internet Archive slurps them up and saves them off.
Sure.
And Brewster Kale adds that if our patrons around the globe think this latest situation is upsetting, referring to the DDoS attacks, they should be very worried about what the publishing and recording industries have in mind. I think they're trying to destroy this library entirely and hobble all libraries everywhere. I don't know how much of that is rhetoric and how much of that is, rooted in fact there. But just as we're resisting the DDoS attack, we appreciate all the support in pushing back on this unjust litigation against our library and others. So there you go.
Wow.
People going after people trying to just maintain what's publicly available.
I thought there have been precedents set that if you put it on the internet, it is not protected.
I'm sure there's still some copyright stuff. Like if you put news articles by the New York Times, you can't just wholesale cut and paste them. I guess it depends on what you do with them, I suppose. I don't know.
I think it was one of the things about the what is it? Maybe somewhere in the Midwest there was a data breach a couple years ago, and the government actually tried to sue the person who had accessed it and reported it.
That's right. Yeah, someone who was trying to be a good citizen. Yeah, I remember that. Where they're trying to be a good citizen. Hey, this stuff's available. You should not do this. And I do remember that.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's what I was thinking of. All right. Yes, all right. I used the Internet Archive not very long ago. Anyway. Okay, well, the topic I brought is actually not security related, really. Sorry, but I threw it into Slack. Yeah. So yours was. So long as I talk for a few minutes less. I don't know though. I liked this though, and there's security adjacencies in here because some of these articles definitely touch on security.
Everything's about security on the internet.
It's true.
Lack thereof.
So this is actually a article of articles or a listicle of articles.
I hate that word, listicle.
Sorry. But I forget where. I actually don't remember what some mailing list that I'm on. I must have, and I clicked through to it. I was like, oh, that's interesting, and it's basically a list of articles or essays on programming that this person, Ben Kuhn, comes back to over and over again and shares with others frequently. Now he's missing Yegi's platform rants, which I swear I've come back to like a bunch of times. And this post is pretty old. I mean, it's July of 2020, so all the articles predate that. So they're minimum of 4.5 years old. But there was some good stuff out here, and a couple that I have read before that I also kind of agree with being worthy of sharing. But so I'm just going to name off a couple of them and some of the cool stuff in here. And then, if you want to actually go and read the articles, clearly we'll have a link in the show notes. And then obviously it's a list of other links. But so the first article or the first linked essay is it's by Nelson L. Hadge or El Hage. Computers can be understood. And I love this because I think that there have been many times in my career, like I really feel like even though I went to a very small college, did not have a very large computer science program, I really feel like I got a good grounding in the basics of computer science, and it has served me very, very well over the years. And I, like today, there's abstraction on top of abstraction on top of abstraction. And I'm sure there are hundreds or thousands or millions of people that just live up in JavaScript land and are very happy there. And, the things underneath there are a black box to them. But computers can be understood. And I believe fundamentally that it's worth the time to get down and understand more about how it actually works, and both to the system as well as whatever software stack that you're kind of depending on. Anyway, so that's the first article. really, really, it's not really about the article. That's more about my opinion. But anyway, so that's the first one. Second one is, I love the title of this is Dan McKinley, but the title of the essay is Choose Boring Technology. And I think that one of the, let's say, ways that you can attempt to ensure success of whatever it is you're building is be really cautious about where you go,
Right.
like off the beaten path.
Yeah.
Yes, there's situations where you just need something that's very specialized, or you have to write it yourself or something along those lines. But for most things, for most problem areas, for, most solutions that need to be built, like choose the basics, choose the boring technology. Love it very much. There's a lot more in the article, but okay. What was the third one I pulled out? So the third one I pulled out is actually the fourth article linked,
which
but
is
it
my
was
favorite.
I totally thought about you about this. So this is an article by Patrick McKenzie. Even though this article was written in like 2010 or something like that, so like 14 years ago, he's the guy that writes Bits About Money that I have quoted evidently 3 times in the last 6 months. But this is from a previous website of his, or maybe it's his company site, Calzamaeus or something like that. Oh, actually, on the right-hand side in the gutter, it actually says, I also write Bits About Money. Anyway, so this is falsehoods programmers believe about names. And I actually thought about this with you specifically in the context of like time.
Yes.
Because I know how much you love time.
People have no concept of time and how it functions.
The complexity of time. But this article is basically, as a public service, I'm going to list assumptions your systems probably make about names, and all of these assumptions are wrong. Try to make less of them next time you write a system which touches names. And then he has literally 40 things that start with things like people have exactly one canonical full name. People have exactly one full name which they go by. People have at this point in time exactly one canonical full name. People have exactly n names for any value of n. People's names fit within a certain defined amount of space. Oh, that is solely true. People's names do not change. People's names change, but only at certainly enumerated set of events. People's names are written in ASCII. Anyway, all the way down through, my systems will never have to deal with names from China or Japan or Korea or Ireland, the United Kingdom, the United States, Spain, Mexico, Brazil, Peru, Sweden, Russia, Botswana, South Africa, or the Klingon Empire, all of which have, quote, weird naming schemes in common use. That Klingon Empire thing was a joke, right? That was number 28. Probably not, actually. Anyway, all the way down to number 40, the very last one. People have names. Sorry.
Yeah. Also,
sorry. So many assumptions. So,
my favorite one there is because my wife, actually, her birth certificate has a completely different name for her, and it wasn't corrected till she went to kindergarten. So the number 35, 5 years right, is my wife.
Oh, wow.
She didn't have her current name until I think it was almost kindergarten. 4 or 5 years old.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
that
her birth certificate.
that'll for the audio, the people that can't read that, that's number 32. People's names are assigned at birth.
Yeah.
33. Okay, maybe not at birth, but at least pretty close to birth. 34. All right. Within a year or so of birth. 35. 5 years? 36. You're kidding me, right?
No, totally. That's exactly. So she's got a birth certificate, and then she's got a name correction. There's some other document that she has that, because she can't go get her birth certificate to prove her name. She had to have her birth certificate corrected or an addendum or something. I don't remember what the deal is.
Wow. Okay. Tricky
fun stuff. Names
when it comes
are
to passports.
Tricky. Yeah, names are fun.
Anyway, I did think you'd enjoy this one. I had to pull this article out.
Sorry, probably spent too much time on that one, but I found it entertaining.
No, it's funny. It's good. So the sixth article linked in here, I don't remember. I think there were like 10 or 12. The sixth one that I pulled out is called the product minded engineer. And this can easily go for security as well as anything else. But I love this too, because this is, the last thing you want on your team at all, I think, is somebody who's just taking a story out of Jira, implementing it, and then like you're a short order cook or something like that, or where it's just like, I take it in my left hand, I put it in front of me, I operate on it, and then I took it off to the side. Understanding why
Yes.
is so important.
Yes,
and
please.
and it's asking the why. And like I've had a number of experiences with product managers over my career, and a good triumvirate of a good product manager, a good architect, and a good dev manager is really powerful. But the architect, at a minimum, really needs to understand how to translate the business requirements into something that can actually meet the business requirements, but also be performant, scalable, etc. Whatever the other attributes you need for the product, but really being able to implement and truly produce that starts with being able to ask why and understand and answer why, and then be that person to answer why throughout the rest of the team and organization. It's, anyway, really critical. I love that one. All right, the next one I pulled out is an old one from Joel Spolsky on, you've probably read this one before, leaky abstractions.
Yep.
The law of leaky abstractions, which when was this posted? 2002. So that goes way back. But I love all non-trivial abstractions to some degree are leaky. And the example he's used in at least the snippet that Ben Kuhn pulled out was about TCP. But TCP provides you a ordered, connection-oriented or connected stream where it'll automatically retry the packets if they don't get them. But that doesn't mean that you'll actually receive them. They might be really, really slow. Or what does he use? He uses, if your pet snake is chewed through the network cable leading to your computer, no IP packets can get through, and TCP can't do anything about it, and your message doesn't arrive.
Yep.
Abstractions fail, sometimes a little, sometimes a lot. There's leakage. Things go wrong. It happens all over the place when you have abstractions. So love that one. Very, very much a classic. And then the final one I pulled out is Notes on Distributed Systems for Youngbloods. But it's a number of guardrails on how to actually build a large distributed system and some of the things you need to take care of. So, I pulled out 4 of these that I particularly like, although it's a really, really good article and totally worth the time. But first of which is that coordination is very hard. If you can avoid coordination, you should. And, back in, in school, the problems that did not require coordination were called embarrassingly parallel, right? You can't avoid it all the time, but the more you can, the better. The second thing is that, and I love this, metrics are the only way to get your job done. Exposing metrics is the only way to cross the gap from what you believe your system does in production and what it is actually doing. Which
exactly.
I adore that quote. I should have it laminated. If I had a penny for every time I fall into this trap sometimes too of I believe what it, and your beliefs do not matter.
Computers do not operate on belief. Although with AI now, I don't know if we can say that anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Pretty funny, pretty funny. Okay, third thing that I pulled out of this one is use percentiles, not averages. So important.
Okay.
So 50th, 99th, 99.9. Using an average assumes that the metric under evaluation follows a bell curve, but in practice, this describes very few metrics an engineer cares about.
Yeah.
Which I, again, 100% agree, especially in large systems. And then the final thing I pulled out of here is, and this is not a recent article. This is I don't have it in front of me. This article is from 2013. So, it's 11 years old. Mm-hmm. Feature flags are how infrastructure is rolled out. Again, love it.
Nice.
It's common to use feature flags for features in a product or a system, but it's also an awesome way, or it says they're a powerful way of replacing infrastructure as well. So anyway, those are the four things I pulled out of that. And then there's a bunch of other links to essays in here, most just general programming or development essays, but I really liked this article.
Nice.
There you go. Some good stuff there.
Awesome.
There's some really, really good stuff there.
Names are
college
hard.
Course. Yeah, that names one. I knew when I saw the names one you'd appreciate that one.
Yeah.
So,
all right, you ready for my something fun?
I'm totally for something fun.
All right, so I don't know if I mentioned this book series, but it's a 3-book series, and the third book just came out, and I suppose that's the other thing I did over the weekend was I read book 3. So the plot of these books, the 3 books it centers around Mayan and Incan and kind of that architecture and history and mythology. What was it? 2012, the Mayan calendar ended and the world was going to end. And so it ties kind of that into, hey, that wasn't the end. That was actually the beginning of the return of the Mayan, the Mayan gods who the Mayans talk about who they thought Cortez was when he came from Spain. They thought he was the return of some ancient god that they had in their mythology. Anyways, so it has a lot of mysticism, the Mayan mythology, and kind of a lot of that Central American, North South American mythology in it. And it's about a family who gets invited down to Cozumel, and they discover that they are not there to enjoy the beach. They're there because they're going to be a sacrifice by this other family to get in good with, the Mayan god who can turn into a jaguar, and that's where the jaguar prophecies come from. Anyways, but he's a historian and book writer. It's kind of almost a little bit like what were those books that were turned into movies? Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code.
Yeah, it kind of has a little bit of that feel to it. So the third book, it just came out and I finished it. It was a lot of fun. It's called the Dresden Codex. So let's see. The first book is Doomsday Match, and then the second book is The Jaguar Prophecies, and the third book is Final Strike. And so it mixes, modern times. So it's not like completely fantastical world. It's in today's world, and it mixes a lot of, hey, we flew an airplane over this jungle with LiDAR and discovered there's all these temples that are hidden, in the ground. And that's where these Mayans have been hiding for hundreds of years, waiting for their chance to come back and take over, kick the invaders out of their country and send them back to Europe. And ties into, the whole COVID thing with, hey, they release a plague around the world and you start to see the plague spreading around the world. And anyways, it was fun. It was a fun set of books to read through. So kind of get a feel for, pulling that mythology into a story. So 3-book series. Last book just came out last week, and it was the last book in the trilogy. It's correct. A trilogy. It is a trilogy. The third book definitely ended.
Okay.
Not that they couldn't continue if they wanted, but the story definitely ended.
Okay. So, well, that's good. I definitely read other stuff by Jeff Wheeler.
Yeah.
And I feel like you mentioned that at some point, but spelled differently.
Yeah, spelled differently.
Even if they're homonyms. But I did just
fun.
search through our RSS feed, and I didn't see either Wheeler
No.
Or Dresden. So
I did the same, and I was like, I could have sworn I
maybe
mentioned
you
something
didn't.
like that.
Maybe you didn't, but I don't know.
Maybe it was a different conversation.
It could have been. Could have been. Could have been. Could have been.
Right.
Okay, so my something fun is a Smithsonian article about, and I don't know how we're crossing the streams here.
Segue.
Mayan beekeeping.
Nice.
So weird. So this says I actually didn't. I don't know. I feel like I read other stuff, but I did not remember that the Mayans kept stingless bees. And so this says, as far back as 3,000 years ago, the ancient Maya practiced beekeeping. Their cultivation of sacred stingless bees, still emulated in the Yucatan Peninsula today, provide both pollination for their crops and honey to use in food, rituals, and medicine. So I swear that I've read this before, but it didn't stick in my brain. But anyway, kind of cool. So it says archaeologists in the Mexican state of Quintana Roo discovered tools linked to these indigenous apiarists. They 3 carved limestone lids, which they used to plug hollowed out logs that housed the bees. Mm-hmm. Evidently these plugs, and there is a picture. It really does look like a big, kind of 8 or 10 inch around, and hard to tell how long, but looks like maybe 15 or 20 inches longer than it is as wide. Plugs that they clearly must have used to, stick in the it's graduated just like a plug, so that it'll go in as far as it would go in.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool. So they date to roughly 950 to 1500 AD when the Spanish conquest took place, and the archaeologists thought they were excavating a wall, but they concluded the site was once an apiary, or more specifically, they say a meliponary, because evidently the stingless bees are Melipona beechei, which is the Mayan sacred bee, as opposed to Apis mellifera is the current bee, honeybee, I think. So, anyway, so just slightly different species. It says it's native to Mexico. Species has no stingers. They're now endangered, and they live in small colonies in hollow trees.
Yeah, how do we import the no stinger bees? I'm a fan of no stinger bees. I have decided. I would like this.
Given the fact that they're endangered, yeah,
we need to help them, is what I heard.
I don't know. It's how cool is that? It says they produce a potent citrusy honey. Much tastier. Too. Yeah, it says it's much tastier honey. It says it's runnier, more floral. It's very delicious, but there are much smaller amounts of it, so you need a lot more bees. Okay. Anyway, there you go.
I'm a fan.
That would be cool. I want to learn more. So
super cool.
It's awesome. Okay, that's my something fun.
All right. Well, thanks for the chat.
Have a good night, Eric.
We'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.